Hello everyone, welcome to today's session where we'll talk about the story Two Lady Rams by Mulk Anand, a witty yet poignant short story that delves into the themes of patriarchy, gender dynamics and the absurdity of social hierarchies in colonial India. To get us into the thinking, let me ask you a quick question. Have you ever witnessed a situation where societal norms created unnecessary conflict even when a simple solution is possible? This is the heart of Two Lady Rams, where the protagonist Lalla Zinda Ram finds himself entangled in a partial struggle between his two wives, each demanding recognition and status. You know, when a husband and two wives, how intricate the story will be, you will be seeing that. By the end of this session, we aim to understand the social and colonial context of the story, analyze the characters of two wives and what is symbolizing their conflict, and finally reflecting on Anand's critique of patriarchal structures and the bureaucratic absurdity. Let's talk a little bit about the author. Mulk Anand, a prominent Indian writer with several novels, quick stories and crucial essays in English, and is additionally viewed as the founder of the English language Indian novel, known for his sharp social realism and advocacy for the marginalized. Mulk Anand, born on 12th December 1905 in Peshawar, educated in London, deeply influenced by Gandhian and Marxist thought. Anand's works like Untouchable, which has been published in 1935, and Coolie, which was published in 1936, expose the injustices of caste, class and colonialism, and he was a prominent Indian writer, in particular acknowledged for his depiction of low caste human beings in Indian society and the way he portrayed their wretched lives. His father's name was Lal Chand and his mother's name was Ishwar Kaur. He was one among those Indian English writers who won a worldwide readership. Anand produced several types of literary artwork and creative writing such as novels and quick memories, which proved to be the traditional works of the modern Indian English literature, marked for the appreciative understanding of the lives of the oppressed. Anand's style is marked by vivid characterization, irony and a focus on everyday struggles of ordinary people. The tools that he uses masterfully in this story to critique gender and colonial power dynamics. Mulk Anand's short story Two Lady Rams involves the main character, who is Lalla Zinda Ram. He is the protagonist and he has two wives, Sukhi and Shakuntala. And this story is all about the combat between these two wives for recognition. The combat arises as he receives the title of knighthood, and that letter is delivered to Lalla Zinda Ram and addressed to another person, that is Lady Ram. The insistence of both the spouses on being called as the Lady Ram and his difficulty on deciding who should be called as Lady Ram turns into the crucial point of the story. The Two Lady Rams is a satirical gem from his collections Reflections on the Golden Bed, blending humor with biting social commentary. Now, let's talk how this story is relevant for today's society. Why this story matters today. Though set in the pre-independence India, Two Lady Rams remains startlingly relevant. This can be even equated for today's society. Its themes, which is gender inequality, bureaucratic red tapeism, and the absurdity of ego-driven conflicts, especially between the two wives, mirror modern day struggles in households and all the institutions worldwide. Anand's humor makes the critique accessible, but the message is clear and profound. When systems prioritize pride over people, everyone loses. Let's dive into the summary. The short story, Two Lady Rams, starts with the information that our protagonist Lalla Zinda Ram was once conferred the title of knighthood due to his sundry services to the British Empire. However, this true information was once quickly going to create a problem in his home life. That means he has two wives and the trouble is associated with those two wives only. And Sukhi is the name of his first wife and Shakuntala is the name of his second wife. And both of them insist on being known as Lady Ram. Zinda Ram initially used to cope up with all these troubles by paying no heed to them, but this time he is not going to escape so easily. Zinda Ram, as usual, was not involved in the cold hostilities between the two girl Rams, and instead he was once pretty busy in receiving and answering the inundation of all the congratulatory messages that he is receiving because of his knighthood title. He used to be in high spirits. Once you are given the title of knighthood by the British government, that means you will be addressed as sir. How exciting it would be. He is in the same mood. So, he used to be in the high spirits, and it is quite unbelievable for him that a man whose father was a small shopkeeper had risen to such an exalted function in the existence and grown to become equivalent to be of any other sahib. Sahib is a term that is used for respect. The battle between the two female Rams started when you consider that Zinda Ram married his second wife Shakuntala. With the arrival of 25-year-old Shakuntala, 50-year-old Sukhi was once expelled from the major role in the house. And to avoid their 7 years of enmity, Zinda Ram decided to separate his house into two distinctive parts. Both of them will be placed in each part of this house. You understood, students, that this is the same house, but he placed both his wives in each part. But the invitation card from the government house twisted all this smooth going situation. To facilitate all those dignitaries who had been granted titles, medals and scrolls of honor, a garden party used to be organized at the residence of His Excellency the Governor, and it was to be held the very next day. An invitation card was delivered to Zinda Ram and it was addressed to Zinda Ram and the Lady Ram. There all the problems arised. Whom he should select as Lady Ram, because he has 2 wives, and who should accompany him to the garden party? This is where all the trouble started. Zindaram at first asked his youthful wife Shakuntala to purchase a new saree and get ready for the occasion. When the information travelled through the servants to Sukhi's ear, it made her sense subordination and powerlessness. So, to prevent all this happening, Sukhi, she dashed into their bedroom early in the morning, where Sir Zinda and Lady Shakuntala have been sleeping, and she started to pour all her anger at her younger rival. She addressed her as eater of her masters. This is the ultimate humiliation you had to forge on me. And she also added, but I will pull out every hair on your head and I will blacken your face. This is how frustrated she has been after this incident. On listening to all this abusive language, they got out of the bed, and our protagonist Sir Zinda, he is disapproving and he is rubbing his eyes and said, both of you go to your rooms, I will continue to be here if I like. And this adamant Sukhi is protesting, I will be here and I will have to solve this right now. And to control unstoppable Sukhi and her non-stop drift of abuse, Sir Zinda in the end exerted his authority in the residence by taking Sukhi, by using her hair to put her out of the house. Sukhi proved to be cussed and resisted like a tigress and created a huge cry and hue at the house. Disturbed by her act, Sir Zinda at first telephoned the ADC for an appointment. However, ADC was once busy with the practice for the birthday celebration, and he had averted him because he presumed that actually Sir Zinda had some normal deal or contract. That is why he called him. He did not actually anticipate that this is the situation. After this, the scene shifted to the gates of the governor's house, and the sepoy who is at the gate said that Lal Sahib was once at the tiffin and there had been strict orders that no one should disturb his siesta, and Sir Zinda was humiliated by this and his driver grew to become homeward. On the way home, he began to figure out some answers for the ongoing problem. He knew positive things for sure. First positive thing is Sukhi, his first wife, would by no means let him stay in peace if she is not addressed as Lady Ram and if she is not taken for the garden party. And his second wife, younger wife, Shakuntala, would no way let him come near her if she is not taken to the garden party and not addressed as Lady Ram. And the third, he ought to contact neither the governor nor ADC. And it used to be of no use in search of the recommendation of any gentry in the town, because instead of searching for solution for Sir Zinda's problem, they will only make fun of his problem. They will take it as a fun, a time pass for them. That is why he stopped approaching all the gentry in the town. When he reached his bungalow, then the chauffeur actually requested to make a humble suggestion, and Sir Zinda approved to him to speak. And then the chauffeur actually suggested him that he can take both of his better halves for the party, Though Ram brushed aside the driver's simple concept, admonishing him to mind your business, he believed that it should be an easy solution for the difficult problem. The sole concern was not to Sir Zinda and two Lady Rams. He wanted to take both his wives to the party, but the invitation card is clearly mentioning as one Sir Zinda and one Lady Ram, not two Lady Rams. Therefore, he altered those two phrases to two Lady Rams. Afterwards, he ordered his chauffeur to tell both the spouses to be geared up for the garden party. The driver advised each of them, one after the other, that only one of the two Lady Rams are going to the backyard party. Now, let us talk about the theme of two Lady Rams. The theme of deception or trickery runs throughout the short story Two Lady Rams. In this story, we observe it is not only Ram who deceives the people, but the colonial government also deceives him and the natives. We have examined the theme in the following paragraphs. In the short story, Sir Lalla Zinda Ram practiced dishonesty in his profession. He is a master in forgery. Ram's deceptive nature in his works is highlighted thrice in the story. For instance, when both of his wives insist on going with him to the garden party, he is actually in a dilemma. He cannot decide whom to select for the party. He then calls ADC to make an appointment to meet the governor of the province immediately. The ADC, who is busy in managing things for the garden party, he thinks as usual, Sir Zinda Ram, maybe he might have contacted me for some sort of contract or as usual, and though the commissions received always been generous from him, I do not want to be involved at this point of time. So, Captain Forbes, he made his pile and he did not want to get involved in those shady negotiations anymore. Ram often meets ADC for their official meetings. From the deals, the ADC always receives a fair amount of commission from these shady negotiations. And you know guys, these negotiations are shady because they are illegal and they are against the interest of the mass. The next instance of his deception is when Ram alters the name on the invitation card from Lady Ram to two Lady Rams. It is not so easy task for him, but also this is not a new thing for him, because he had altered many more intricate documents in the past. He also deceives his wives. Before the departure to the garden party, Zinda Ram orders his driver to inform both his wives to be ready for the party. The driver deceives both the ladies into believing that only one of them will be going with her husband to the garden party. When both of them realize that he is befooling them, there is nothing left for them except for accepting that they have been defeated, accepting that they have been fooled and accompanying him to the party. Besides Lalla Zinda Ram, the colonial masters also befooled him and deceived the mass. As Zinda Ram receives the news of knighthood, he is excited. He imagines himself transforming himself from a man of 5'5" to a 6'6" colonial sahib. We can measure his excitement by the way he looks in the mirror. He looks at the mirror stealthily and smiles with a sense of pride when none is around. He also thinks that the knighthood will add glory to his personality. Who won't think like that? Because knighthood is not an easy thing, especially during Indian colonialization. British are ruling us, and imagine receiving the British highest order of knighthood. But his dream of becoming equal to English Sahib is a lie, because when he needs the help of governor, he cannot meet him personally. Despite having the knight title, he disguises himself to meet the governor. Then what is the use of knighthood? What power it is giving him? This suggests that this title is only deception and has hardly any value in real life. Now let us talk about few more themes of the story. Polygamy and the status of women. The story examines the practice of polygamy and its impact on women's lives. You know that polygamy means one husband having more than one wife. And here we can clearly see that Sir Zinda Ram has two wives, Sukhi and Shakuntala, and how Sukhi and Shakuntala's rivalry highlights women are very often valued primarily for their ability to bear children, not for their individuality. Sukhi's infertility leads to her marginalization, and within the household reflecting the societal norms that devalued women who could not fulfill their expected roles as mothers. And let us talk about the second theme, the colonial influence and the social hierarchies. The conferral of knighthood on Zinda Ram underscores the influence of colonial honors on Indian society. Actually, this story satirizes the colonial system's superficiality and the way it creates new hierarchies or new social hierarchies affecting personal relationships and status. And third theme and most important theme, that is gender inequality. The narrative highlights the gender inequality entrenched in both traditional Indian society and colonial legal frameworks. While men could legally practice polygamy, women had no equivalent rights. This disparity underscores the broader patriarchal structures that limited women's autonomy and rights. Let us discuss few more themes about the story. Conflict and resolution. The conflict between Sukhi and Shakuntala over who will attend the ceremony with Sir Zinda Ram illustrates the tensions within a polygamous household. Ram's pragmatic solution, that is altering the invitation to include both his wives, resolves the immediate conflict, but it also highlights one more thing, that is his attempt to manipulate the bureaucratic and social systems for personal harmony. Let us talk about one more theme, that is social status and recognition. This story explores the desire for social recognition and the lengths to which an individual will go to achieve it. Ram's insistence on taking both his wives to the ceremony and their subsequent acceptance by the governor highlights how social status and public recognition can be manipulated and are often superficial. Let us talk about one more theme, that is satire and irony. Anand employs satire and irony to critique both colonial and traditional Indian societal norms. The humorous resolution of the conflict, that is Ram bringing both his wives to the ceremony, this serves actually as a subtle commentary on the absurdities of social conventions, and this also serves as an arbitrary nature of the colonial honors. And let us talk about one more theme, that is bureaucratic indifference. Here the story also touches on the indifference of the colonial bureaucratic systems, and it also caters to the nuances of the local customs and personal lives. The official's failure to specify which wife should be considered as Lady Ram, which wife should accompany the Sir Zinda Ram to the ceremony, this created very significant personal conflict, and this also highlighted the disconnect between colonial governance and the reality or practicality of Indian society. Dear students, let us conclude Anand's Two Lady Rams in a nutshell. Actually, this story masterfully blends satire and social critique using the absurd predicament of Sir Lalla Zinda Ram and his two wives to expose deeper injustices that are happening in colonial India. The battle over the title of Lady Ram. Through this, actually author laid before us the futility of patriarchal pride, that is dehumanizing nature of the colonial bureaucracy, and the tragicomic consequences of clinging to the hollow status symbols. This story also leaves us with one piercing question: how much of our life is spent in chasing these empty titles, while really inside our dignity is slipping away slowly? So, this is a story not only for one, but for all those people who are actually paying price for these hollow status symbols and false pride. Thank you all.